Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're taking a look today at the Mevo. This is an all-in-one live streaming device that comes from a company called Livestream, and you probably know them as a streaming services provider, but they've been making hardware for quite a while too, mostly for higher-end production clients. This is, I think, their first consumer-oriented device. This costs $399 as you see it, and what's interesting about it is that it shoots at 4K, but outputs at only 720p, and that's both to its internal recorder as well as out to Facebook Live or Livestream, the only two services it supports at the moment. And the reason why it does that is that it gives you the appearance of a multi-camera shoot. It'll actually focus in on people as they're talking and switch the virtual camera between them. It's pretty convincing and looks really cool. So it'll add a bit of a professional touch to a live stream, which will look a lot better, of course, than just having a static camera set up and not moving. So let's take a look and see how all of this works here in just a second. But I do want to mention, in the interest of full disclosure, this came in free of charge from Livestream. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this review, and no one is reviewing this content before it is posted. Now, what I'll be doing with this is hanging on to it for a little while because I have a feeling they're going to be doing some updates and other things to it. We're reviewing this very early on in its life cycle, so I anticipate maybe doing another 2 or 3 videos from it. After that, we'll be donating this to a local nonprofit or a charity that can put it to good use. So that is what we're going to do with it. Now I want to show you how the hardware works on it. Now, from a hardware perspective, everything that is needed to live stream is contained within the little cylinder here, but it does require an iPhone or an iPad to control it. It does not support Android at the moment. If that changes, I will leave you a note down below in the video description with information on that, but right now iOS only, so just be prepared before you spend your $400 to make sure you can control this device with your phone. So inside of this thing is a 150-degree lens, and that will give you a bit of a fisheye effect if you are zoomed out all the way. When it zooms in, it looks a lot more like a regular camcorder look might look like. So if you are not too fond of that fisheye effect, you might want to set up some camera angles ahead of time and manually control the production. Has a stereo microphone on the front. It picks up pretty nicely, but as expected, the further away you get from this device, the lower the audio levels sound. What they did do, though, is provided a way to get audio into your phone, and it will then sync the audio up with the video coming from the camera here and allow you to use a better quality microphone if you wish. However, it requires a headphone jack, so if you have an iPhone 7, you may not be able to make it work. I'm thinking the USB audio adapters that work with the Lightning to USB dongle you can get for iOS devices might. I don't have one at the moment to test, so you might want to ask Livestream if that is a possibility. But right now, they do recommend you having a headphone jack in order to get everything working on there. It has Wi-Fi built in. It'll connect up with AC wireless. And what's cool is that you can either broadcast over a Wi-Fi network, so you connect it to your network like any other device might connect, or if you're out in the field, you can have your phone be the conduit to Livestream or Facebook Live. So it'll transmit the video out of the camera to your phone. Your phone then sends it out to Facebook Live if you are out in the field. There's also a battery built in that gives you about an hour of recording time or broadcasting time. Not much, but it is a USB-powered device, so you could get a cheap booster battery that you would normally charge a cell phone with, plug it into the back of here using the 2-amp connector for a tablet. Many batteries, like the Anker ones I use, support that, and you should get way more than an hour if you've got that battery plugged in. But if you're feeling a little wealthier, you could spend $250 and get their booster here. And what this thing does is gives you about a 10-hour boost of battery life for broadcasting or recording, and they also added some connectivity options that are not built into this one. So while this one is only Wi-Fi on its own, the booster pack will give you an Ethernet jack as well as a USB connector for plugging in a 4G modem directly into the camera. And what will happen here is that your Mevo camera connects to the top of the $250 device here and then begins recording that way. So this is a optional item that I don't think is necessary unless you really need the connectivity options. For the most part, a cheap $40 cell phone booster battery should give you the same amount of battery life as you'll get out of that big expensive one there. There's also an SD card here. I'll pop open the camera again here. 16-gigabyte card comes with it. It doesn't really require all that much space to record videos because, again, you're only recording at 720p, so you should get a few hours at least on a card, so I wouldn't really go nuts and get a big 128 gig card. 16 gigs should be enough to get a good amount of recording done on it. The power button is here on the top. It also has a light that reminds me a lot of the Amazon Echo, because what it will do as you're recording is kind of follow you around, so you'll know what the camera is zooming in on. There's an automatic mode, which you'll see in a minute, that will follow your subjects around, and you can see who's actually on camera virtually while this thing is recording, so you don't need to stare at your phone while you're doing a recording. You'll be able to take a look at the light bar on the top here to know what the camera is looking at. So all that said, let's boot up the app here and see how it works, and I'll show you some video samples too. All right, so I'm recording live right now on the Mevo, and I'm going to be switching around between my studio cameras and the Mevo so you can kind of get a feel for how all of it looks. And I'm seeing the light up there changing now as I'm talking, so I'm seeing that its autopilot is adjusting the camera angles to give a more interesting production to you as we're going. So let me pull up the app real quick here so you can see how all of this works. So you can see how it was tracking my face there. What I can do is grab my little fingers here and adjust the zoom on the camera. So right now it automatically just zoomed back into me, but if I want to make that a wider shot, I can just pinch to zoom, and it will then pull the shot out slightly to give a wider angle. Then it will switch again back to that live view. Now, if you don't like the live view that you're seeing right here, there are ways to adjust it, and let me go back to the app here and show you that. So if I just tap and hold on different elements of my studio here, I can set up different zones for it to connect with later. So I can do our Sega Genesis back there and a few other things. I can pull up this grid view here, and now you see we've got a couple of different angles. If I want to switch to the Apple IIgs, I can just tap on the IIgs and it will stay there. I can go back to my wide shot here by tapping on that. I can maybe go over to my other shot here, and you can see just how clean these cuts are, because it's not actually cutting the camera at all. It's going back and forth within that 4K image and cropping and zooming in different parts of it as things are being recorded. So there's ways to control it manually, or you can go into this autopilot mode. Now, I did shoot a video with my daughter earlier to give you an idea as to how the autopilot works when you have two people or more conversing, and it really works pretty well. So take a look. I'm over here. Can you see me?
Nope.
So what are you doing today? Are you doing anything fun today?
Nope. Nope.
So we're here in my room just talking to the camera.
Nope. Nope.
Nope.
Nope.
Are you done talking to the camera?
Yeah.
Do you want to watch Aladdin now?
Yes.
Okay. Bye-bye. So there you see how it all worked. It was very good at anticipating when the next person might talk. So you saw that I stopped talking and then it switched to my daughter before she started speaking. So it can very accurately find people in a scene and kind of guess at what might happen with that conversation. And I'm sure that'll be things that they can improve in software over time. If you have a very busy environment, though, it might get thrown off by that. So if you have people walking through the background and whatnot, it can get a little crazy. When I was over at an event in New York City where I met these folks, and there was a lot of people walking around, and the autopilot was getting really confused as to who it should focus on. But I found with my daughter there, where you have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people, it's a little easier for it to manage, and it might be a better way to go. Now, the zoom on it is okay, but it's not great. It is a digital zoom after all. So you can see here I walked about 20 feet away from the camera and zoomed in on it. So I think for the best results, you probably want to get the camera pretty close to your talent as you can in order to get the best results out of it. I also found that the scenes need to be very well lit. So even if the room you're in looks well lit to your eyes, there will be areas where that light is dropping off and you'll get some noise on there. So you might want to look at getting some direct lighting for your talent. If you're outdoors, you should be fine. The sun will give the camera plenty of light, provided you have your talent in the sun. So I wouldn't worry about it for outdoor shoots, but indoor shoots, you will see some noise, especially when it zooms in. Now, when you hit the record button down here in the lower left-hand corner, you have the option to live stream it to one of those 2 services, or just record directly to the SD card. Now, it will record to the SD card even when you do a live stream, but the end recording will not have the same amount of quality that you would get if you were just to record by itself. So you still get a 720p video, but the bit rate, the amount of data that it records per second, is significantly less on the live stream mode, primarily because most of us don't have really fast internet connections. So it'll record at a 5 megabit bit rate when you're streaming. It'll do 20 megabits per second when you're just recording directly to the card. So if you're looking for the best possible quality, don't live stream because you can't get the high quality recording and the live stream at the same time. But if you are looking to live stream, you will have a recorded archive that'll be on the card when it's done. So even if your connection drops out midway through, you will have a continuous recording you can upload later. So that is the Mevo, and I'm going to recommend this one more as a streaming camera than as a production camera. So if you are a YouTuber coming to this review, looking at buying this thing for your vlog or other YouTube production, the quality you're going to get out of here, especially when the camera is zoomed in, especially when you're uploading at 1080p or greater, is not going to be good enough, I think, to pass muster on the platform these days. But it does do very well for live streaming for a couple of reasons. First is that when you are live streaming on Facebook, for example, for the most part, people are watching in a smaller window. Even on mobile, it's not going to be showing you that noise as much just because it is in a smaller space. So I think it's going to work well there. It also is very easy to set up because it's all self-contained. There's no computer to hook up to it. You do have to have the phone or the iPad connected, but largely the camera kind of runs itself, and once it's set up on your Wi-Fi, will broadcast itself as well. So there's no computer to use. You don't have to have a streaming box hooked up. You don't have to fight with the video codecs. You just hit a button and it starts going. And I think that's where it will really be of interest to houses of worship. I hear from religious organizations all the time that want to stream their services, and they often have a technical volunteer that gets everything set up, and then that person's not available, and then the stream doesn't work, and they can't get everything going. What's nice about this is that you can train a couple of volunteers to get the stream up and running pretty easily. The camera will largely do everything for you, and you don't have to really have a lot of technical wherewithal every time you want to do a stream available to you. And I think that's what's really going to be useful for religious institutions, and your viewers get something a lot more interesting too, because you don't just have a static shot that never moves. You have a lot of nice motion of different camera angles. It'll cut to different people as they talk. It really will, I think, hold viewers' attention a lot longer than just a static camera might. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.